Savior and all the things He will do for us.
I'm your host, Stan Dixon. Joining us in the studios of K-Pow, we have Donald Towns, who is an artist, a background artist in the field of animation. And he's come to share his special testimony about how God has led him. He's worked with major motion picture studios and pictures, and he's done a lot of work in the field of animation. And so we're happy to have you on our program tonight.
Thank you.
Don,
happy to be here.
Good. When did you first become aware that you had a special God-given gift for art?
Well, as most artists usually do, you grow up drawing all the time, and at that point you begin to discover I can do something a little bit more than average. I was about 7th grade when I got a challenge from another person. I had never met other people who drew as much as I drew.
Sure.
And I met someone who did and challenged me that he could actually outdraw me. And in the process of trying to outdraw one another, we decided to show the friends around us which picture was better. And in the process of showing, they seemed to like the pictures that I did the most. So in that process, I thought, wow, maybe I do have something that's special, a little more than just the average drawing ability.
So it wasn't until age 14 or 13 that you first discovered you had a special gift for art? You weren't aware of it like 10, 11?
Well, I knew how much I loved to draw.
Okay.
And I remember getting in trouble a lot. One of the things I did too often was every time I would open a book, on the inside or back cover of the book, there was always blank paper. And for some reason in my mind, I thought the book wasn't complete unless that page was covered. So,
with your artwork? With my artwork. Sounds like my son. He does that a lot, draws on everything. Does it run in the family, where your parents, artists, and your children, do they draw or show an aptitude for art? Well,
I have 4 children, okay. And 2 of them tend to spend probably about as much time as I did drawing as much as they possibly can. According to my relatives, I actually never saw my relatives draw before, but according to my mother and my grandmother, I had an uncle that did just as much drawing when he was young, and they talked about how much he was able to get a likeness of people. And my grandmother actually drew as well. So in that process, it's what I know by them telling me, but I had never actually seen them draw before. As far as I was aware, I was the first one that literally carried beyond just a everyday fun thing, but actually decided to make a career out of the process once I discovered it.
I see. When you were first motivated to seek a career in art, did you have a lot of people supporting you, saying, "Hey, Dom, you can do it. The sky's the limit. Go ahead. I'll pat you on the back. I'll support you, Dom." Because there are a lot of people that are good at art.
Yes.
But it's another thing to be successful in a life's work in art. And so did you have that sort of coaching and nurturing?
In truth, I did not. And that's part of the reason why I do believe that it was definitely God-inspired for me. As I continued to do more and more drawing and was getting in trouble for it, I was really discouraged to do more of it. I was encouraged as I got older, as a matter of fact, and I actually started working, to start doing things that was more of what was termed as a real job, or do things that would help as far as a possible future career. So at that point, no, I really was not encouraged to do it, so but the drive to want to continue, because once I recognized it was a God-given talent, I just had that need to express it in some manner. So I know that it was the Lord that was continuing to be that point of encouragement for me.
So you tried other things in terms of looking at a career in moments of discouragement. Did you study other fields?
Well, once I did discover not really having the exposure of the possibilities of art fields, I thought about what career could I actually go into. And I chose the field of architecture.
I see.
And in that process, I made it a point when I was in high school to take all drafting and architectural courses. So that was the area that also revealed to me, because it was easier for me to do those particular areas of study in school. And I seemed to excel more so at that. And the encouragement actually came from school more than from family, because the people could see. And when I was at the age of graduation, I was encouraged to, an offer came to work at Six Flags Over Georgia, originally from Atlanta. And I had taken that offer. And that's when I met other artists that were as proficient at doing drawing and painting as I was at that time.
You know, you just brought up a point that I'd like to highlight on our program. Parents, when we see our children investing a lot of time in areas where they may be gifted, and sometimes that time, or the time they put into that gift is sometimes a hassle for us, and we don't provide the right encouragement. But I'd like to encourage all of our viewers that if your child has a specific gift, try to channel his gift in a productive way. Right. Because I think all of us have gone through what you've gone through. I know I've gone through it, where the gift was misinterpreted, and then you begin to react upon the feedback you're getting. And so for me, it was like going out into street gangs and so forth. But I've always wanted to do television, believe it or not. I've always wanted to, but I really didn't get that support. But what I was going to ask you was what really made the difference, and I know you brought up the Lord, but how did He motivate you to pursue this craft in terms of making a life investment? Because there are a lot of people that are good at art. There are people on Skid Row that are good at art, but it takes something to make a career out of it. So what was it for you that motivated you to go beyond just, this is just a plaything or just a hobby?
Part of it simply was the belief that, at least for myself, I was somewhat stubborn as a young man. I was an only child, and not that I had my own way, but I seemed to have a determination. And again, I do believe it was God-given to want to continue to do. I was able to have clear focus on certain things, even as at a young age. And once I set a particular goal or did a certain thing, I didn't necessarily change my mind from that goal. And having recognized that that was what I wanted to do, I basically just continued to ask the Lord, is this the direction I should go? And as time went by, I began to see more and more revelations that said, yes, this is the direction to go. For example, like I mentioned, the offer coming while I was in school. It actually came through a counselor that knew I was into drawing, and he asked if I would be interested in taking that particular job that they were looking for artists. Another area was when I actually went into art school, and I ran into problems while I was in school financially and didn't know where else to turn. And the Lord actually opened the door where I met a person in Chicago. He was a writer of the Chicago Defender.
I see.
His name was Earl Calloway at the time. And he was a fine arts writer for the paper. And so he spent his time doing interviews of those that were involved in varying art fields. And he actually made it a point to take me in and help me financially when I actually ran out of funds. So that became a clear revelation to me that God was opening the door for me to continue on in that field. So I continued.
So to make a success out of your life's work, and if God has given you a special gift, perseverance and determination is an essential quality that I see that you had. Also, you believed in yourself. I mean, there could have been times when you doubted, whether I could do this or not, or whether I could make a career out of it. But I think God instilled in you those qualities of determination,
absolutely,
and perseverance to keep going. Now, what impact did becoming a Seventh-day Adventist Christian have on your craft? You're a member of the Sun Village Seventh-day Adventist Church, and in fact, we have some artwork that we like to show our viewers. And one piece is on display at the Sun Village Church. But what was it? How did becoming an Adventist Christian, a Seventh-day Adventist Christian, impact your craft?
There was an Adventist artist by the name of Harry Anderson, and he had many paintings on religious subject matter. And looking at that artwork inspired me very much because it was clear that it told the visual story of what I would read about in the scriptures. In that process of seeing that, it put it within me a desire to want to tell that story as well, to want to hone in my craft in such a way that if opportunity came, I would be able to sit down and do some sketches and come up with biblical scenarios that would reveal in a visual way and hopefully bring the Bible to life in a visual form. So it caused me to want to do the same.
To use your gift for God.
Absolutely.
In a special way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course, in the process of desiring to do that, there are certain doors that did not necessarily open in the way that I desired it, but God had a different methodology in which He would use my talent.
And He's still leading you.
Absolutely.
We have a song we want to share with you about how God leads us. God is a lighthouse. Jesus is a lighthouse. And my wife, Sheena Dixon, is going to share a special inspirational song that shows us how God is a lighthouse.
If it wasn't for the lighthouse, where would this ship be?
Jesus is the lighthouse, right here on Something Better. Our guest tonight, Donald Towns, a young man who has found a better way to use his talents. Don, you've worked in several major motion pictures and art studios, and I'd just like to name a couple of those that I'm familiar with. Beauty and the Beast with Walt Disney,
Yes.
Little Mermaid, and you probably had some others before that and after.
Aladdin was the last film that I actually worked on there. Fox and the Hound, Great Mouse Detective, Mickey's Christmas Carol, Tron, Rescuers Down Under. I was there for about 11 and a half years, so I worked on...
Which was the first one you worked on?
Fox and the Hound was the first film.
Fox and the Hound. Okay.
Yes. Black Cauldron, which is, I understand, is now coming out on video.
Okay. And you made a decision which may seem unpopular to some, to leave a great mega company like Disney for a much smaller Christian organization, a Christian company that produces Christian films.
Yes.
And some of our viewers may wonder, well, why leave a place like that if your considerations are, you know, you would want to work in a more spiritual environment. Some may wonder, well, why not just be a Christian in that environment and influence a company like Walt Disney using your craft, because it's a secular environment. We all work in secular avenues, some of us do. But why did you choose to leave a secular company in favor of one where your impact would be directly spiritual?
When I was actually at Disney, there were quite a number of the Christians that were there, but there were two other Adventist Christians that are still there, as a matter of fact. And it was our desire, basically, to do a book that was called The Great Controversy.
I see.
And that book actually lays out the controversy between God and Satan historically up until the end time. And we've always wanted to actually see that story in animated form. Not only that story, but other Bible stories that we felt would share the gospel message in a more direct way. And in our desires and efforts to strive to do that, unfortunately the doors did not quite open in the way that we wanted to.
In other words, they weren't interested in making Bible videos at that time.
Disney definitely was not.
Okay.
And in having presented some stories that were along those lines, it was clear that that was not really their interest. It's more about what they feel is going to be popular to the public. And that's the way most studios are ran. But that desire never really left my heart. And upon discovering this company, which while I was still in the process of searching and hoping to find someone that was doing something along those lines, I was introduced basically to Rich Animation and recognized that they were doing Bible subject matter. And it was a smaller company, so it had much more of that family environment, of course, that Disney always talks about having. And as much as I enjoyed my stay there, because it was quite a learning experience artistically, but I really wanted to go on to things that had more of a direct gospel influence.
Do you feel that God was leading you even from Walt Disney, through Walt Disney, to where you are now?
There's no question in my mind. Again, because I look at the other two artists that were there, and each one of us started out with areas of skill. When I first went to Disney, they were offering a training position in that field. And for the other two gentlemen as well, it was a learning process. And we've all grown where two of us became art directors at Disney. One of them became a director that's still a director there now. And so we believe the Lord opened that door in a way that we can begin to learn and perhaps utilize those areas of skill specifically to hopefully doing Christian-related animation.
Sure. Right now we're going to go to a clip of what Don is doing now, some of his work at Rich Entertainment. And we want to go to that clip right now. If our camera people can go to...
Before I am taken away, bless me, Elijah. Give me a double portion of thy spirit. It's a difficult thing you ask for, but if you see me taken up into heaven, God will give it to you.
I see it! A chariot of fire!
Of Don Towns. Am I on? Okay. That was some of the work of Don Towns. Very impressive, very inspirational. Don, it was almost like you were accustomed to looking into glory, to really conceptualize what the heavens are like and the glory and so forth. And you have some artwork that you want to show us.
Yes.
That I'd like to show you, our viewers. This is some of Don's work, and kind of gives you a taste of his insight into heavenly themes, as you just saw on the clip that we just ran. This is 3 angels, right?
Yes.
These are 3 angels. Tell us about this.
As Adventists, we have a particular verse that basically represents our belief system, which is the Revelation chapter 14, verses 6 through 10. It talks about 3 angels that have the everlasting gospel to give unto the world, and it gives 3 specific warnings. And so I had a desire to want to depict this. And actually, animation has been a growing part of how the Lord has educated me in revealing art using color and trying to inspire as much as we can the visual aspects of what we want to state. So therefore, it's my desire to move on now, sort of full circle, as I talked about before, Harry Anderson.
Sure.
And now I would like to eventually move into this point where I'm doing more scenes such as this, that is specifically Bible in orientation.
And then if we could go to another scene, tell us about, this is some of the work you're doing now at
Rich Animation.
Rich Animation.
We're in the process of working on King and I, And it's a Roger and Hammerstein classic film, that live action that was done by Yul Brynner that we're now doing in animation. And this is just one of the scenes that's in the garden. Most people know the material as Anna and the King of Siam. And so this garden is actually depicting one of the gardens that's around the palace area within Siam. And my job basically is to work out the color for the entire show, such as what we see, and I have to do the paintings that will help other artists know what to carry throughout the rest of the picture. But that's what we're in the process of working on, and that's due for release sometime next year. Do video. What you saw earlier was direct-to-video, but we also do theatrical release product as well.
Okay. Don, what do you want to do in the future?
Well, specifically that, as I mentioned again, I feel that the Lord is leading me out of the animation field.
Okay.
Part of the inspiration, of course, again, is to learn as much artistically as I possibly can, but it grows from there. And a lot of that has been just my personal witness on the job, which I've sought to be the greatest aspect of being there. But now it comes a time where it has to be more direct application, because I believe that the Lord is coming soon. And I want to move away from the field that I think has not always been the best in terms of its totality of product, to our young people, and to move into that field that I believe can be more direct is where I believe the Lord is leading me now.
Don, what advice would you give to a young person who has a specific or a special talent or gift that could be used for God? Now, we all have our gifts, but someone who has a special gift that he wants to make a career out of, what advice would you give that person?
First and foremost, to recognize that all gifts and talents are from God. So therefore, if it's desire to truly grow that talent and do it for an eternal purpose, I believe that you should seek the Lord and ask Him what is it specifically His desire and how that talent is to be utilized. And once you know that that's what God has revealed, then maintain that faith walk. Let nothing detract you from continuing that process. It doesn't mean the road's going to be easy. It will be a difficult road, but to move forward in that direction wholly by faith, and I believe the Lord would open the door. And in every way possible, make sure that in giving that talent, to remember that you're doing it for the glorification of God alone.
Don Towns, we thank you for being on our program, background artist in the field of animation. And Don has a special gift that he shares with many people. And we thank you, Don, for being on our program.
Welcome.
And so we want to inspire all of our, I hope you've been inspired by this program, by what you've seen, some of Don's work. And remember, God always has something better for you when you choose His way and you place your heart and your mind and your will in His hands, and He will direct you in the use of your talents in a better way. May God bless you as we see you again on next week.